Hi everyone, welcome to the Maureen Bradley Designs YouTube channel. I am Stephanie Reese, your host. Thank you so much for being here. This is episode 2 of Principles of Design with simply stringing techniques. That's a mouthful. We are talking about the principles of design and making jewelry and applying those designs to making jewelry. The principles of design are the basic ideas that we use to create, study, and talk about art. And in the last episode, we started talking about balance. And what is balance? Balance refers to the distribution of visual weight in a composition. Each part of the composition works with other parts of the composition to appear equal and harmonious in balance. So last week we were working on symmetrical balance. Symmetrical balance is when both sides, either vertically, horizontally, or even diagonally of an object or composition are the same on both sides. So in order to achieve symmetry in this necklace design, we used beads and components, and we had our focal, and at the top and the bottom we have beads that are equal on both sides. We have stars, we have a pink bead, we have a purple bead, we have 2 hearts, and we have this beautiful focal that allowed us to achieve symmetry in our design. Today I wanted to work on and talk about asymmetrical balance in design. So asymmetrical balance in design is when balance is achieved by using size and weight or a variety of images, but they are not going to be equal or even from the midline. So from here to here, our beads are going to be different, and how we place those beads will achieve the balance and harmony that we want. Okay, so I went ahead and brought in a strand of these crystal beads that I had. You could also bring out your bead soup if you have extra beads or leftover beads from projects that you've made and you don't know what to do with them. This is the perfect time to create an asymmetrical design with beads that you don't have a matching bead with, because we're talking asymmetrical design. So I had this in my stash, and this is about using what you have in your stash. So don't go out and buy beads. Use what you have and attempt to create something that is asymmetrical for this. I've also added some other beads. I think I also had, here's a little bit of my stash. That's just a little bit. So, things you also need for this design, and remember, it's simply stringing. We're not trying to create something complex or outrageous. We're just simply stringing. So I took out some Champagne Extreme Flex soft flex wire. This is a medium wire, and that refers to the strength of the wire, and it's perfect for this design. It's not, we're not using real tiny beads, and we're not using super heavy beads. This is probably the heaviest bead in it. So it's perfect for stringing. I have a clasp, and I have 2 5 millimeter jump rings to attach my clasp. And I also have 1x2 crimps, and I also have wire guardians. So we are also going to be needing our chain nose pliers. We're going to maybe need a round nose. I always have them on hand. We definitely will need cutters, flat flush cutters. And I'm going to again be using the notch crimper. If you can see the notches in it, I'll do that. I want to go ahead and do this again just to make sure that everybody has the grasp of it, and then maybe next time we will use the round crimper, or the magical crimper, I believe it's called. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unstrand these beads, and I'm going to keep them in the same pattern that they're in. So that means I want them to stay like they are, right? And I'm going to pull this out. I'm just going to sort of place them in a similar way. I'm taking these two teardrops out. I do like them, and we may come back later and add them. But I want to make sure that I've got this all laid out in the right way I want to string them. Now, you could add metal beads periodically in this. This was the perfect example of asymmetrical design because no bead is alike, and they're all just randomly placed on the strand, right? And so I just want to go ahead, and I'm making sure you can see here. That way, if I change them around, I want to make sure I am sort of achieving harmony and balance with my beads. And what do I think that means? I think that that means that even though you may have, let me clip this off. I'm going to get rid of that. So here we are. We've got this strand of beads. And how would you achieve harmony? So for me, I want this to come up and go that way. I am enjoying how this bead goes. And I am enjoying this. And look at that. So as you look at all the beads you have, you want to pay attention to how these are going up. Do you want them to flow up? Do you want them to come down? And we've got some rather large size beads in this mix. And here I've got two beads together and only one over here. They're spaced apart, right? That's achieving my balance because I'm using similar beads in what? Size and weight. To create harmony. So now I've got these two beads together, but I think what I'd like to do is maybe switch those around. And if you notice in this strand, the way it was strung, we have two rather large round beads here, and we have two rather large flat oval beads here. So I think I would really like to switch these two. Do you see how it's now balancing itself? Because you've got beads in similar shape and size, but not on the same. It was a little wonky, if I can use that term, prior to changing them. So now look at it again. We've got this sort of flat side happening and this other bulky side happening. And so in order to achieve some balance within our asymmetrical design, I'm going to do that and see how it looks. I also don't like the colors being right next to each other, the blue on blue. So I'm going to do this and see what that looks like. So, and then I think maybe this bulky green bead can come, maybe we put it here and we move two beads here, such that we've got them opposite ends of each other. So now I'm just going to kind of move these up. This was a 12-inch strand of beads, so I am going to have to add some more beads to it. And so I sort of I don't want this in the middle for sure. And so to add some beads, I'm really liking how this is more balanced. I may go ahead and switch a few more around just to kind of, make sure that I've got an even balance of different, my proportions are equal on both sides. Remember, we're looking at size and weight of things. So what if we did this? That looks really cool. I really like that. And then I have this pearl looking bead that I could probably add to this to create a little bit of texture with this bead here. Let's see, I've got a lot of blue and green here, so I may want to change that around as well and add, I'm really liking that. So how about this here? And then we could add this little, it's a hexagon bead. I love how that sparkles on both sides, but that's sort of blue and purple. Maybe we need to add some of this brown up in here so that we can achieve a little bit more differentiation of color. And I might go ahead and push this down a little bit and bring in this brown bead. And I hope that you can see how we are pulling in different sizes and shapes, and we have an easygoing asymmetrical design. Go ahead and take a look at your beads because we still need to string them. Take a look at your beads and see how you want them to flow together, and I'll be back. Okay, so now you've had a chance to look at your beads, kind of position where you think they should be, and now that I'm looking at that, I want to do that so that I have balance in my piece. So with all these fabulous beads, let's go ahead and string them up and take another look. Okay, so how did you do? Here is what mine looks like. If I can get it in the camera, it's not going to be, let's see, I'll do it this way. So here is what mine looks like. And it's about 16 inches total. And on the way and stringing, I did decide that there were a few beads that I really didn't like how they looked and felt. And I think I'm still not quite there because this bead here needs to be a little more balanced. So I'm thinking as I look at this, it may need to come down a little bit so that I can have a little more balance in my piece. So if you notice that about your beads too, go ahead and restring them and just have fun with it. Don't think too much with it, but if something looks out of place, go ahead and fix it and move it around. Okay, so I'm back again, and I have been playing with beads, and I have noticed that my rows will not hang properly on my piece. So if you have a bead that is similar to this, one way to be able to deal with this so that it will sit properly is to go ahead and take your beading wire. I want this to be an 18-inch necklace. I want 2 inches on each side so that I can add my crimp beads and my wire guardians. And then I also need to go back through this bead 2 times so that it will sit properly in my necklace. So the way to achieve that is to go through this bead once, and it needs to be even on your beading wire. There we go, see that? And then I'm just going to feed opposite ends each through that hole again. And this will allow for my rows to sit properly with all these beads, and it won't flip downward. Okay. Oops. There we go. I had already gone through it. And then we're just going to make sure that it is even on both sides. And then I will be back with my strung necklace so that we can finish it. Okay, so I am done placing my beads, and just want to make sure you can see this. Hopefully you have been able to achieve some balance and harmony using sizes and weights of the beads. Excuse me. And now we are going to go ahead and finish this. So I'm going to wind up with a 16-inch necklace. I have a little bit left for my clasp. And so if you remember, make sure your bead strands are in a good place. And we are going to add our 1x2 crimp and our wire guardian. And since we have enough room, we're going to go ahead and leave a stem hanging down, and then we'll pass one bead over. You don't have to, but I like to try whenever. Sometimes it's not possible because you have the holes on the beads right next to the crimp are too small. So in order to do the crimp, we are going to place, let's see, I need to get a place on the mat, I think. And we've got our, make sure our wire guardian, the wire is tight in our wire guardian. And then we are going to place that crimp inside of the notched crimp, which is the one in the back. And we're making sure our wires are not twisted. And it's okay to leave a little bit of the wire. You don't want to get right up on that crimp or wire guardian. You just want it about there. And then I'm making sure that my wire keeps popping up. I see. Okay. All right, now we can put it in the bottom notch. And we're going to crunch down on it, clamp down. And you can see how it's divided the wire in half. And then we're going to place it in the top half of our crimp. Squeeze down and it folds that wire over, the tube over. And then I just give it a little squeeze, making sure my wire guardian is straight. And then I'm just going to pass it through one bead. It's always nice to have, because if it should by chance ever come loose, you have a little bit of a leeway and you don't lose your entire necklace. But the crimping it this way is really strong and it should not go anywhere. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to, remember, we're going to move all of our beads down, and then we're going to crimp on the other side. Okay, I have finished my crimps. Remember your tension, take into that consideration. Your necklace should be nice and fluid, and we're going to go ahead and add our clasp now. So I'm going to open my jump rings. And add my toggle, one side of my toggle, opening the jump rings from front to back, closing, and then we'll add the other side of the toggle. Close my jump ring, making sure you don't have any gaps in your jump rings, because that can cause your necklace or clasp to come off, and you could lose your necklace, or could come off. And I thought, since we have a little bit of time, I would go ahead and share with you how you can simply string. I have some leftover stringing material, and maybe we could add, see, one of these teardrops that came with it. So either on either side of my rose, I want to add my, I think there, and Either one would look really nice, but what you can do is to go ahead and string that piece of stringing wire through the top drill. We are going to add another 1x2 crimp on one side, and then we're going to pass the other side through that crimp, not twisting them, but making sure that it comes like that. And then we're going to make a little loop like so, just right at the top of that. And I'm going to grab my crimps. See if I can do it. Top there. And I'm going to fold it over just like I would on a necklace. Let's see if I can get my pliers in there. Fold it in there. Oops. And I want to make sure my loop isn't too big. So there we go. Let's see if that does it. If I can keep my finger in place. There we go. And I'm clamping down on it. And I may have to redo my crimp because I messed it up. Okay, one sec. Okay, so I'm back and I've got a new crimp and a new piece of wire, and I'm going to add my crimper in there, back in there, clamping down on it so that I've got the little, you may have to push your thing in half, and then I'm going to add it to the top and make sure I'm clamping down. Alright, and don't worry about it if it's a little off. You can always adjust it like so. And then I'm just going to clip away those little ends of my wire. Like so. And I've got this little piece that can come down and dangle from my necklace. I have a 6mm twisted wire. Jump ring in silver, and now I just need to find where the opening is. I think that's it. Alright, opening that from front to, well, I was wrong, they're so tough. Okay, so I'm going to open from front to back a little wide, so that we can place it around in between the black bead and white bead there. And see how I'm grabbing both sides. Let's see. Alright. Making sure I'm in the camera. So I'm placing it in between the black. See how there's a little bit of space there. So I'm placing it in between the black and white bead. I'm going to grab the other side. And I'm going to slide this little dangle on. And then I'm going to close my jump ring, making sure it's closed well. And I've been able to make an asymmetrical design. Let's see here, get my tools out of the way. And then making sure you can see the design here. A simply strung asymmetrical design. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. We worked on balance, and this is an asymmetrical to simply stringing technique that you can try using with any leftover beads you might have, or random strung crystal beads like this. So keep working at it, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, rest of the week, and until episode 3, thank you.